No two customers are alike. Building a targeted marketing segmentation plan to maximize opportunity. Hi, everyone. My name is Blair de Jong, and I'm the manager of customer engagement here at Rümi, powered by ATCO. In my role, I really am privileged to support 3 lines of business in terms of getting the right message to the right customer at the right time. And so today, what I want to talk to you about is a bit of our journey that we've been on with Environics. But before I do that, why don't I share a little bit more with you about ATCO? For most of you that may be familiar with us, you may have seen our trailers around the world, as ATCO stands for Alberta Trailer Company. But for those of you who may not know, we actually have a very diversified business across the world, specializing in anything from infrastructure to energy to utilities and a whole bunch of other lines of business. And to give you a bit of sense of the culture, a bit of the flavor of the company, I wanted to share with you just a couple things that our founder, RD, or Ron Southern, had shown as a team. And, unfortunately, he's passed on from us, but he's left a legacy behind. And the first thing is our excellence statement. Ron was always really big on us delivering on excellence for our customers. And as part of that, he wanted us to make sure that, if I read this out for you, we were always providing excellence for our customers. It was about going far beyond the call of duty, doing more than others expect. This is what excellence is all about. It comes from striving, maintaining the high standards, looking after the smallest detail, and going that extra mile. Excellence means caring. It means making a special effort to do more. And so how we bring that to life is through our core values at ATCO of cross integrity, caring, agility, and collaboration. And so with such a rich history and rich heritage as ATCO, we've been able to deliver on our customers for many, many years. But what I'm most excited about to talk to you today is our newest member, which is Rümi. Rümi is a bright new member of the ATCO family, and Rümi exists to make people happy by making it easier for everyone to love the places they live and work. So what Rümi is all about is really about delivering homeowner happiness into the household or where you're working. And to do that, we have 3 lines of businesses that offer different services and products for you. We've got Rümi products and services that offers everything from energy efficiency, things like your smart thermostats or an EV charger, through to the Blue Flame Kitchen that offers culinary education and cooking in the household, through to our ATCO Energy line of business, which is really an extension of our utilities business that offers you gas and electricity for your home or for your business. And so as part of that, I'm privileged to work across all 3 lines of this business. But today, where I'm going to focus our attention is how we've been looking at the ATCO Energy business in terms of some of the journey that we've been on with Environics. Before I do that, though, let me talk about some of the key challenges or the opportunities that have presented itself this year. For those of you that may or may not know, with Alberta, where we come from, it's a choice of where you buy your gas and electricity from. So it's not like other provinces where maybe you have a default municipal crown-controlled corporation that offers you utilities. You actually get to choose who you buy the gas or electricity from for your home or for your business. And so what that's created is a very competitive industry for the marketplace. There's about 4 or 5 key dominant players, and we're fortunate to be sitting right now in number 3 position of that marketplace. But it's a very competitive industry. And, there's lots of different challenges with being in a competitive space, whether it's incentives that are tossed out for customers or whether it's, the prices, trying to match against your competitors. So it's become a very competitive space to compete for the same eyeballs in Alberta. The other thing that's provided a unique challenge for us as well is the apathetic audience that we have in Alberta. Like you and most homeowners, you probably, once you got your utilities, you've kind of set and forget it. You just pay it every month because it's part of your essential service to keep your lights on or heat in your home. But, for us, if we find that it's hard to kind of cut through the noise sometimes or get people's attention or get people excited about their energy bill. And so it poses a unique challenge for us into when we're trying to market to them or get their attention or get their eyeballs on looking at our ads. Another challenge or opportunity has been the spray and pray approach that we've taken. So as a business for ATCO Energy, we've been in the marketplace now going on, and we're coming up to our 5th anniversary here in February. And to the point of before this year, we've done more of what we call a spray and pray approach. So we've been out in market, just putting ads out wherever we can find them, and hoping that people would buy from us. So, the spray and pray approach is basically, we've spent a lot of dollars and given out a lot of incentives to get people kind of almost buying their love, so to speak, to get them into the market. But what that's posed as a unique challenge for us is that, from the business or for the top down, we've had a lot of pressure on our cost per acquisition and in our marketing budgets to, try to figure out where we can get some savings, or, where we can get the best return for our dollar. And so it's posed a unique challenge for us to maybe explore how we go about doing our marketing and advertising. And then, no surprise, like most of you and most everybody in the world right now, the things are top of mind with COVID-19. COVID-19 has posed a very unique challenge for a lot of reasons. But for us specifically, it's really it's been a harm to some of the current marketing placements, or some of the places where we would typically advertise in. We had, even funny enough, a photo shoot or a commercial shoot that was planned to happen literally weeks after COVID broke. And so we had to shut that down. And, there's been lots of unique challenges with the placements that we usually would have used. We used to advertise in the Tim Hortons all the time. Well, Tim Hortons were closed, so we couldn't put an ad out there anymore, right? So there's been lots of things related to COVID that have put its own unique challenges on our business and in what we do from a marketing perspective. So with all of those challenges, those are all present opportunities for us. And so what we've tried to do is, and what I want to share with you more today, is talk a bit more about the journey that we've been on with Environics, and really help us kind of address some of these challenges or opportunities and overcome them along the way. So to start off, I want to share with you the customer analysis process that we've started off with, that Environics is something that they facilitated with us. And it's all rooted in the core of Prism. Most of you are probably familiar with Prism, but for those of you who don't know, it's the 68 scores that are kind of scored the entire population of Canada, and it can be triangulated down to a postal code. And so what we've been doing is we've been working through, all these different, starting on the top right-hand corner there at integrate phase. We've been working through some of these different phases to gather all the insights that we have about our business, and then trying to marry that up with some of the databases or the tools, the information that we have available to us from Environics. Then from there, we've created some of our target groups, and we've been able to kind of actually create what we call a persona out of those target groups that allows us to get to kind of humanizing the people a little bit more. What that allows us to do is actually pinpoint with a bit more accuracy where we think those people might be and what channels they might respond to, but also how we might message to those people as well and talk to them in our advertising or our marketing communications. So from there, we started to take some action on these insights, and I'm going to share with you some results that we've been able to measure against. But what we're trying to do is really, we're kind of still in that sort of action phase, I would say, at this point, and evaluating some things before we go back to the top of the circle at the start process. So how we've gone about and looked at this is, first of all, we wanted to look at our customer database from sort of a few different lenses, and we wanted to look at it rooted in customer value. So if you can imagine, the bottom x-axis is what we would call our customer lifetime value times our segment size. So the size of the bubble would represent the population, and then the customer lifetime value multiplied by that would actually yield how much value we get out of that particular segment, or out of that particular target group that we would use. And then what you've got on the left-hand side, or the vertical axis, is you got the highly accessible. What highly accessible would represent is how easily accessible are these people. That could be from, is there a market for them, or how much market penetration we've got? It could be, are they in a similar sort of demographic or similar Prism group, or do they have similar attributes or similar psychographics? So they could exhibit similar behaviors about how they respond to different mediums or different channels. And so we've tried to look at it both from the value equation as well as the accessibility equation to come up with our top value segments. Then from there, we worked with Environics on what we call a customer segmentation scorecard. And what you can see is on the left-hand side, we started with looking at our customer value tiers. We'd started with sort of 4 key tiers, or 4 value tiers. And then we broke them down to the individual Prism codes, or the Prism scores, so that we could have all 68 scores against our database, and then grouped by the customer value tiers. When we looked at customer value, we looked at it from about 4 or 5 different lenses. We looked at their churn with us after the first year. We looked at how much value they bring to us from from two lenses. One, how much can they consume of their commodity, whether that's gas or electricity, or we looked at it from the value that they produce, that we get from them as margin on the gas or electricity. Then from there, we also looked at how many households might be available in that particular PRISM score and what our market penetration looks like, so that we could really kind of look at both the value equation as the accessibility equation. Then from there, we took a look at all of the environics data that we had available to us through all the different databases, and we started to cluster them based on target groups. So it shuffled the mix a little bit from our value tiers, because what we found is there was some similar overlaps when you can see on this table here, some of the hot spots and some of the cold spots. And as we started looking at the similarities between the hot spots and the cold spots, it became very clearly obvious where some of those PRISM scores were kind of maybe needed to be shuffled a little bit into different segments. And from there, we were able to create 6 key target groups across our database. From there, we took each of those target groups and we personified them, and we created a customer segment persona. So again, using some of the databases that some of you may be familiar with on the left-hand side, available through Environics, what we were able to do is establish a customer segment persona. And what that customer segment persona allowed us to do was understand and kind of almost humanize the customer in a sense, so that if we were talking about someone like, in this scenario, an affluent customer, people could understand what we were talking about. You know, to break it down a little bit further, we looked at their demographic profile in terms of what their age or their household income, or maybe where they own versus rent their home might be, because that helps us understand how maybe the audience is from a financial standpoint, or what their education might look like. We also looked at the social values, and what the social values are really interesting is it allowed us to help understand how we talk to the customer, or how we would message the customer in some of our sort of conversations we're having with them. We also looked at their household spend, and from the household spend side of things, we can understand how much they're spending already on their utilities, plus maybe some of the other parts of their household. So whether it's renovations or home improvement and things like that. We also took a look at where they spend their off hours in terms of sports and leisure. And so, when COVID kind of breaks and we eventually are able to go out and activate and do sponsorships in sort of different key areas, this might give us some clues as to what we would sponsor against. And then we looked at brand engagement, and what the brand engagement really helps us understand is there similar brands that these people are have an affinity for or associated with, that we can either glean insights on how they're marketing to these customers, or the words they're using, or the things they're saying to those customers. And then finally, we looked at the media highlights. And so what the media highlights allow us to do is understand kind of what channels that these people are responding to, or where they spend their time, if it's more on TV versus if it's more on radio or in print or newspaper or on digital channels, and really the types of content that they're consuming, so that we could really start honing in and crafting where our media plan might be, our media strategy would look like going forward. So these personas we took for all 6 of our segments, and we're able to generate a persona for each one of them, so that we could humanize them and understand all these sort of behaviors. Again, leveraging and tapping into all the data that we get from those databases you see on the far left-hand side. So from there, the other thing that we're able to do is do a geographical mapping of these personas as well. So what we're seeing here is 2 maps, one on the left-hand side of Calgary, one on the right-hand side of Edmonton. And what we're able to do is, based on that persona or the target group, go in and actually look at where the highest probability of where these people live, where we think that we have the best chance of getting in front of them at home. And what this allows us to do is really start tuning some of the media channels towards a geographical focus. So the darker purple spots, if we wanted to drop a DM, let's say, to the T2J there in the bottom of Calgary, we think that that's where we have the highest probability of affluent customers. Or similarly in Edmonton, up in the top left-hand quadrant there of St. Albert, which is, for those who don't know, a bedroom community just outside of the greater metropolitan of Edmonton, the T8N FSA is somewhere where we could drop something there. So what these maps allow us to do is not only take all that other information we can glean about the persona, but then start actually tuning the media based on geography to know where is the best and highest probability of where we would market to these people. So that's kind of taken us through a lot of the insights of that customer analysis process. Now what I want to share with you is some of the execution of how we've actually deployed some of this media market. And to start with that, I want to showcase a direct mail campaign that we ran over the past quarter here in Q3, where we were able to use all of the persona data. We're also able to use some of the geography data and actually do a direct mail campaign, dropping it across 3 different core segments of our customer database. So we started off in July as part of our base buy campaign, or just sort of our lights on campaign. We did a direct mail that we dropped in July to our diverse mix audience. And because this was our first time doing this against a persona, as well as against a targeting based on sort of FSAs, we wanted to go a little bit broader to understand how would this audience respond to the direct mail piece. So what we did is we managed to look at Calgary and Edmonton, and in the market, funny enough, it's our biggest customer segment for those two markets. And so we managed to estimate about 250,000 households. It represented about 25% of the population in each of those markets. So it was a pretty healthy, pretty representative sample in the market. And so we dropped a DM to that audience. Then we planned in August to send out another DM. This time it was more tuned towards a new product that we were launching. And it was around the concept of giving people access to wholesale energy rates for their gas or electricity. And so we wanted to target it based on the audience that we thought would have the highest probability of taking us up on this product or offer. And it was no surprise, it was our affluent customers, or basically our highest value, highest margin customers. And the reason for that is because we knew from our persona exercise that they had the most consumption out of any of the households, and they also spent the most on their utility bills. So any sort of savings or cost benefit that they could realize, we thought would be the highest probability audience that they could respond to. The one other thing we did with this one as well is we wanted to test out the theory that if we tested it against a specific postal code, so not just the first 3 letters FSA wise, but we took the whole 6 characters of the postal code, could we get with pinpoint accuracy that specific audience? So with this one was a little bit more focused on an addressed household of 150,000 and dropped to that audience. And then finally, we've had our third audience, and we just recently wrapped this up about a month or so ago with the analysis, but we dropped in September to our trucks and trades audience. Now, our trucks and trades audience, for those of you who are familiar with Prism, will know that this is actually one of the core scores, or used to be one of the core scores. I'm not sure if it still is with the new Prism segments, but for those of you who've been around a while with Prism, know that trucks and trades is actually one of the Prism scores that's kind of all on its own. And we had them identified as its own segment simply because they have such a unique profile. They typically live up in more of the northern parts of Alberta or more rural areas. They typically have more of a blue collar focus in terms of their job and occupation. So they had some very unique profile elements that we wanted to test with, but we also knew that they also could benefit from some of the savings of this new product that we were launching. So we dropped to the trucks and trades audience, but we stuck with more an unaddressed audience here and try to get that out to about just shy of 60,000 households. So what you're seeing is a sequence of sort of 3 different direct mail pieces. And what we did is when we were finished with the analysis, how we measured success is we looked at what the incremental response would be. And so I want to highlight for you some of the response that we've seen from this direct mail campaign by simply just dialing in the audience and targeting at specific segments coupled with postal codes. The first highlight I want to share with you is the response rate. So when we talk about response rate, what we're talking about there is if you think about 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after the direct mail drop launched, how much we were able to see as an uplift from the one to the next. And so what we saw is in 2 weeks before versus 2 weeks after, we saw up to a 60% incremental sign up lift, meaning that we had 60% more people respond in the 2 weeks following the direct mail versus the 2 weeks prior to the direct mail, which was pretty significant results. We were pretty surprised by that. We didn't really have much expectations going into this, but we were pretty impressed with the results. And it really helped us draw out a lot of key learnings that we can actually apply to future direct mail campaigns. When it comes to our cost per acquisition, as I mentioned earlier, there's always constant pressure for us to look at how we're dialing our audience and how we're spending our money and taking a bit less of the spray and pray approach and more of a sort of very targeted narrow focus. We've been able to realize this year alone about a 32% cost per acquisition savings on what we spend per new customer that we sign up for our ATCO Energy business. Now that's pretty unheard of, pretty profound. Like we've been able to kind of each year inch out another 5 or 10% maybe if we're lucky, but 32% was pretty significant, and it's been a really good cost savings that we're able to reinvest into other advertising. And what we're able then to measure finally is our return on investment. What's been interesting there is our ROI that we've been able to measure is we're looking at the cost of what our license is for Environics. And so if you think about all the databases there earlier that we were talking about, they come at a cost to license all that data. But what we've been able to look at is the savings we've been able to achieve in terms of our efficiency of our media spend equates to about a 2.5 times ROI on what we've been paying for the Environics license to what we've been able to achieve in terms of increased uplift on our media spend. So it's been a very resounding, very positive response, a very worthwhile exercise for us. And we've been very happy with the results and continue to look forward to doing a lot more personalization and just continue to like evaluate things, test and execute as we continue to work through that customer analysis process. So I want to leave you with sort of three key learnings to share with you. And as I titled this, the PowerPoint when we initially talked about the presentation is, no two customers are the same. What we've realized is the spray and pray approach does not work nearly as effectively as treating customers as their own unique individuals. And so what we've been really able to do is figure out, based on our persona exercise, look at where the similarities are, but also look at where the differences are and start talking to our customers in their own language with the right channels and being able to treat them a lot differently and see your results. What we've also been able to do is pivot on our media strategy from both the channels that we're executing against, as well as where we're targeting these people due to COVID. The silver lining of it has been that we've been able to dial in our media to really still get people to respond. And, we're actually on pace to exceed some of our business plan objectives simply because we were forced to change our media strategy to still deliver. The goals didn't go away, but what we've been able to do is really focus in on the right channels at the right time with the right message, using the persona-based approach, as well as using those geography maps that I showed you earlier to really harness in on where we think people are most likely to respond. And so now what we're excited to do is you can apply this approach or this learning across all three lines of our business. What we're excited about is, we can already start seeing some of the overlaps between our ATCO Energy business and our Blue Flame, as well as our Rümi business. And what we're excited about is being able to take some of these learnings now out of the energy business and apply those to what we're doing with Blue Flame Kitchen, which is a very old and established business, but it has its own unique challenges and opportunities. So how do we learn from there? As well as Rümi, which is our new upstart, our new member of the family for ATCO. And how do we grow that business into and fast track maybe through some of the learnings that we've got from the ATCO Energy side of it. So with that, I really want to thank you for your time today. It's really been exciting to work through this process with Environics, and we're excited to continue to kind of grow in our learnings, grow in our insights, as well as continue to execute and evaluate these things as we move through the process. So with that, I want to thank you for your time today, and I hope you got something out of it. Hope you learned something. With that, I'll pause and we'll ask any questions.